Hey, hey!
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Adobe Live Education Edition. We are always so thrilled to be with you. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Wezi Tindwa, and I serve on our Adobe Education team. And I'm going to toss it to my dear friend and colleague, Anne, to introduce herself, and would also love to know where are you joining us from? Use the chat below, talk to us, and we hope that you enjoy our time together today. Anne, over to you.
Hey, Wezzy! Hello, everybody. We are so excited that y'all are here. Friends, we're starting something brand new today. This is a design series, and we're talking designs that get noticed. Wezzy, I am like over the top excited about this today.
Oh, I know. I know. And it is worthy of that over-the-top excitement. And we're going to talk about why some designs instantly grab your attention, hold it there, while others kind of fade into the background. So there's some important thinking around that we want to get into today. And this is
Yeah.
going to be a lot of fun. Something new.
It is something new, and I love that because we're calling it, it's like episode one of this design series. Today is all about emphasis and movement. So, emphasis and movement are, Wezzy, like two foundational design principles, and we're talking about creating work that really stands out. And we also have some really cool shout outs to the community.
Yes,
So
we do.
I see some friends. Oh, hey, we've got folks in the chat already. Mr. Nance, hope you're watching with your students. We see you out there, our awesome friend and teammate Martha. We see Katara Sisters, Tim Cosgrove. Shout
Yeah.
out to you. So there is great stuff already being done and what we're about to show. But this is also like the design challenge that is the new February guided activity, right, Wesley?
Let's get into it. Yes, it is. And yeah, this is awesome. So here's what we're going to cover today. As Anne mentioned, emphasis, how you can decide what matters most in a design, what's going to help you get there. Movement, and you know that movement guides the viewer's eye, right? And creates a visual flow, helping us to design with intentionality, as well as a step-by-step guided activity, the February guided activity. So if you want to pull that up,
Yeah.
follow along with us, please do so. And we're also going to touch on how your visual decisions impact clarity, impact that storytelling and overall effectiveness of your design. We have seen how designs capture our imagination and capture our attention, and that is always the goal, right? How are we telling a visual story when we are designing? And so don't worry, this session is beginner friendly, it's hands-on, it is made to help you stop guessing and start designing with purpose.
Yeah, I love that. So the purpose you talk about, Wesley, like this is literally from the home screen. So friends who are watching in, this is the new monthly creative challenge, the design skills. And today we're talking about, as mentioned, emphasis and movement. So I'm simply going to open this in the editor and show you how this will launch on your screen. Now, Wezzy, you are very familiar with the guided activities. And folks, if these are brand new to you, this is something we love talking about because along the right side, everything is guided for you to set you up for success. From video instructions to text-based instructions with these awesome visual cues for support. And Wesley, we're going to kind of slow it down today and have some really rad discussions about emphasis and movement. And I can't wait to get into these designs. So, do you want to start by doing an examination of the poster with me?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
So the cool thing is I actually have this open and you can see I'm just in a different document and I want to click on my little light bulb icon because that will pull up the directions, guided activity information. You can see that creative challenge. Everything is there for you. So if you launch a guided activity, remember those instructions are there to set you up for success. The video can play and the directions as mentioned. Wezzy, that first one says, examine the poster,
Mhm.
identify the focal point, and see where your eye is naturally led. So on this design, awesome bright green visual, I love the like newspaper print gradient, the headphones and the text follow the sound. Where does your eye get drawn to as soon as you look at this image?
Oh my gosh. You know what? The important part here is like this is what I had to train myself to do, and I had to pause and just like focus on my own attention. It's like a very metacognitive thing, right? So I see those headphones and I see the word follow, and then I follow the text as a result of that. And this is a good reminder that students should ask, what is one idea that I want people to remember?
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, the next step is that we want to add an object to the design and have it be the focal point, right? So use the size to signal the importance. Oversized objects immediately draw attention. That's what I saw, is that those giant headphones. And then large text can communicate priority. So what are we prioritizing? And what are the supporting elements for that priority? And they can stay in the background, right?
So
So,
I moved a few of
yeah,
mine, but like three big bold words follow the sound, right? Your catchphrase, your key phrase, of course, anytime you click on one of the elements inside, you can drag and drop, you can rearrange. But do you want to talk about typography for a moment? Because I think this might be sometimes under discussed, right?
yeah, yeah. It's definitely it can definitely be an underappreciated element in our designs is the typography. And so, as I was mentioning, just with the larger text, small text, but also the types of fonts. And so, if you can, let's talk about some things with typography and their choices. You have bold fonts and you have unique fonts that draw attention. And you also want to think about, is this the kind of attention that I want it to draw that connects to the meaning? And when I say like kind of attention, it's what is the message and the story that I'm telling that I need people to receive, right? It's not just about, oh, I like the look of that. But how does it connect back to your overarching message? What about the placement of the text to reinforce the focal points? Is it detracting or enabling that message with the other features that are there? And we want students to be considering like which word deserves most visual weight.
Yeah.
So these are points that are really important when you're working with your students in design because it's so easy to open up your digital media app and see all of the fantastic tools and creation. And if your students are anything like mine, and some of you have heard this before, if your students are anything like I was when I was a student, and you're given a task and you have all of these fun designs and assets, I might have spent 95% of the time picking fonts and colors, but not making intentional decisions. It's just because of like it's just grabbing my attention. But when you can focus that decision making, that's when you're taking your students to the next level with their design thinking and their creative thinking and their critical thinking. So let's change some fonts and explore typography, shall
Okay,
we, Anne?
so Wesley, as I click on this, some of the like fun little hacks inside of Adobe Express, when you're changing your font, I love you talk about the bolder, unique font, the placement, the weight of like the visual, like emphasis that a type of text is giving. Some of the buttons, folks, to be familiar with. Do you see like there are recommended fonts? And so this is how I love like our teammate Martine talks about. I think it's like powered by Adobe Sensei, which is like one of the AI tools that's literally recommending fonts tailored for your design. So it's really cool to kind of like look at there's high visibility, refined, similar fonts, etc. You can view all, etc. But what I want to do is also point out this is where I would have lived, Wesi, as a student, and I would have just scrolled and scrolled and scrolled. Oh, that looks cool. Oh, that looks cool. But I find myself now using the recommended font like feature inside of it. And I love that it's a similar one. But can I point out one other button that was a game changer for me?
Yes. Which
Check it
one?
out. When you use the drop down, you also can see what's in use. So, like, I don't have the name of every font memorized, but this is that Anton regular, and like recent, like anything that shows up, even like if you have a brand kit set up. So I am just clicking a few buttons and I'm actually going to make a few probably bad choices on purpose to just show how visually impacted,
Yep.
like, and sometimes people use different fonts and multiple types of fonts. And I'm not sure that there's like hard and fast design rules, but I think like sometimes they say don't use more than three fonts in a design, right? So think about things like that. But Wesy, how's this one? I'm
Yeah.
having a hard time
Yeah.
reading it.
And it's I'm glad that you made that note about just the quantity as well, because you can also gauge how busy is my design and how busy is it on purpose, right? Because you also don't want to overcrowd your design that you lose your message. And so I love that you're picking out what makes sense and also what does not
Yeah, does
in
not make
here. And that's also a great exercise for your students to do. Is like intentionally pick bad fonts
yeah.
for your design and then pick good ones and then look at that side by side and the before and after and think about like what is it that made this one work and that made this one not work so well.
So, Wesley, I have a couple like tabs open on my laptop because we actually have a different file that has a bunch of examples in it, right?
Yeah.
So, I want to go into that document. It's just the next tab over. Here was the original one, of course. But let's move into talking about some of those and maybe playing them and talk about how the next step in the directions is literally to begin to change out the images and the icons, right? So I have my headphones and I could go in and literally replace it. I could leverage my own photography on my device, upload those pictures, or choose from the photo stock library that Adobe provides. So I love that literally you can go in, let's see. I'm going to search for more headphones, and you see like the ability to come in and begin to toggle or choose. I like a solid bold color. So, in this step of the directions, you want to eliminate the background, of course, and then change the size. So let's update this one. And you know what? I kind of like I, I'm gonna hit undo because I like the lighter headphones in the design.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
that. Okay. All right. So let's play.
Let's play.
Let's play because
I Yeah. Go ahead, Anne.
you made some awesome designs. I'm just moving these around, tweaking it, but I want to get into the next one. And I know you made designs for us. You ready to talk about them?
Oh yeah.
All right, here
So
we go.
as you were, I got so enveloped in your choices. I was just like, huh, why does that light headphone work better than the dark one for this image? Because I agree. I think the white with the red trim
Yep.
just stands out. And so, but that's the point, right? Is that we want to be thinking in that way and being inquisitive. And so you start with a message. We are t always telling what when you are communicating with a visual, you're communicating a message. So what is the message that you want to deliver? And I thought about this one of hearing the echoes. There's a lot of noise around us as when you're trying to capture. I was recently at a conference, and so we want to know what's resonating with people. What are people excited to learn about? And this is something that we hear, in our spaces here and Adobe is listen and hearing for echoes. So like what that's important as a classroom teacher, like what are your students really grabbing onto and what's accelerating their pace of learning, what's getting them excited.
Yeah.
So I just thought, it's kind of hard to capture an echo in an image, but what communicates that there's something else happening in your environment? And wind does that,
Mhm.
right? You don't see wind, but you see the impact of wind. So I picked an image that is very that very clearly denotes that something else is impacting it that you can look out for to signal that it's there. So that's why we've got this image here.
Can we
And
just
then,
talk also like the contrast of the colors? So like the
yeah,
dandelion color is such a lighter tone of color popping against, and like the few little parts of the dandelion that are flying off, the movement, the echo, like that kind of like continuity of thought. But the background that you chose with the like blue background color, to me, of course, a sky color, right? And the
yeah.
like natural way that that contrast pulls the eye, and like all of that is a way to use contrast to make that emphasis.
Absolutely. And sometimes if you're thinking with about contrast and you're just like, I don't quite know, like, what do you mean by contrast? I don't quite know. What is a natural environment or what is a natural surrounding for an object that you have,
Yeah.
right? So think about that. And so for me, it was exactly as you named it. And I was just like dandelion in a field and then the sky and blue, and it has a very striking contrast with the blue and the dandelion, and it feels like it's in its natural habitat. So it feels warm and inviting because it feels like nature. So that's why I chose the blue for that. And I would like
But
you all's help in the next one
okay.
because this one is make your move. And
Oh boy.
let me tell you, I want you to take a moment, everybody, as you're looking at this, and think about what's grabbing your eye first, especially with the words. So I paused for a moment there so you could do that. I rearranged and swapped the words move and make a couple of times. And
Hmm.
I'm curious, how many of you went to move first and how many of you went to make first, even though one is visibly larger than the other? So I'm curious how many move your make, right? Move your make. And let me tell you, I when I was first designing this, it was make at the top. And when I looked at it again, I was just like, okay, but here's the thing. My message is that you got to take that first step in order to get to where you're going to reach your goal. That's pretty much the message here. And
That's literally the design of the placement of the text on screen. The first step. Man,
yes, the first step is that first choice, that first decision to mobilize action is in the legs. You take that first step. So that's why I put make there. But
love it.
maybe if I were to get some feedback on this, maybe to redesign this, I could make the word make a little larger. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to duplicate this. And I want you all to let me know in the chat. How might you adjust this? Think of font, because I do want to change the font. And we can do a side by side, quick side by side too. But I'm thinking maybe if I enlarged make and I made move slightly smaller, does that change things?
So
We've
I'm
got
going to click between the two on my screen since we're sharing my screen. And a few comments from the chat. People saw move first, and maybe that's because it's almost center in eye line. Some folks are reading it move your make, but move
uh-huh.
was the first for people. So as you make those changes, I'm just toggling between the two on my screen, and it reads move your make. The other one says make your move.
Yeah.
I love
And I'd also changed it if I made, one slightly bigger,
that.
but it is that eye line as well, right? It's the eye line as well. So this is also the great part about design thinking is getting your input and also looking at things side by side. If you are unsure,
Yeah.
right? Taking a look at your design side by side. I would probably change this font to a more rugged font to indicate just it's she's rock climbing, so maybe make a different choice there for something that is bold in a more definitive way for the words. So I might change that. And so these are just some of the ways that I'm thinking about my text here.
And
Um,
Wesley, as
yeah.
you're making like I know like on the screen, my eyes are drawn to that purple color also. It's bold, it's bright, it's warm. And like when you think about color being a visual magnet also, like warm colors tend to advance a viewer to, or advance towards the viewer, and cool colors like recede. Um, so folks, as you're designing, think about those color choices and how that really helps either draw you in, or if it's like a singular color or a muted palette, like what the natural focal point is. But Wezzy, do you know what I also notice about this design?
Mhm.
All of the empty space and how
Oh,
space
mhm.
plays a critical role in the movement of this is an action shot and making your move and the like the climb that's happening, right? But empty space around the object and around that person, it makes it stand out too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
It stands
absolutely. Absolutely. Everything has everything on a visual has a purpose, including the space, the empty space, the blank space, or the colored space. And so those of you that are just joining us, Anne and I are breaking down design thinking and just looking at ways that we can use emphasis and movement in order to convey a message in our designs.
out.
And so we have this awesome guided activity that we are using for February within Adobe Express, and just talking about the design choices and also looking at ways that we can adjust and edit our designs so that they help communicate the message in a stronger way.
And Wezzy, I know if Mr. Nance and his students are still tuning in, shout out to them because he just shared some examples on social media that we'll talk about in a moment. But we have more examples to talk about. So let's jump into some of the next one. This is another one that you designed. And when you showed it to me yesterday, like it got me in the feels for so many reasons. Not only the three word choices you made, but that silhouette is so striking. So talk about this design and maybe just what you were thinking as you were creating it.
Yeah, I was trying to have a visual that captured self-love, which is again, I was challenging myself with things that can be hard to put into an image. So I thought a silhouette of somebody doing an exercise that is for their own, own good, their wellness. How can we convey that? And then there was this like little light there that I wanted to bring out in the image. It's almost like your core, there's some warmth in your core. And the reason why I love this template that is our what is our February challenge in Adobe Express is because it's so simple, but it can elicit really powerful discourse around design thinking. So you might be looking at these designs and these templates are just like, that is such a simple template. What is that about? But it's to have these conversations so that your students, whenever they're making any kind of design and element, that they understand like what is standing out. What can I use for like spacing and isolation, as you had mentioned, empty space around an object, how it makes it stand out. Crowded areas feel less important.
Yeah.
Um, helping being more strategic about the space and helping the person who's looking at it understand the order of importance. And then there's also color, right? So if you're like this one should feel very warm. I wanted it to feel very warm because it's love. It's like it's a warm emotion. So that's why I use a gradient tone in there.
And Wezzy, I'm going
The
to click
background.
on a few things and we can reset it.
Yeah.
Actually, let me duplicate the page because I don't want to change your design, but let's play with those colors for a moment because you chose this gradient and I love the like green contrast into the yellows, the way that the like sun, like the solar flare that's coming through the silhouette. But if you were to change that gradient, it changes everything,
Ooh,
right?
it does. Look at that.
It changes everything. If you choose a solid color, and I'm just choosing random colors right now, but the gradient choice that you made was so striking because it blends this to me, like, and it drew me into the natural element of the sun, but also the movement and flow of that like piece of exercise, the yoga pose, right? Like the stretch and
Yeah.
how, yeah. But also the three powerful words in the message: show yourself love, self-care, well-being, your, mindset, body movement. Like I love that design. I
Yeah,
love
thank you. This is actually my favorite one. And we do have a question in the chat. How do you start when you're looking at a blank page? And this is such a great question, right? That we sometimes you're not working from a
that.
template. You're
Yeah.
looking at a blank page. And honestly, I started as if I were looking at a blank page because I was just like, well, what's the message? What do I want? What do I want to share first and foremost? And how can I simplify that message? And
And I pulled up a blank page, and what I want to do, this was a new document I created, but I want to take us back into that home page when you launch a guided activity. I'm going to go ahead and add the blank page here. There are directions for how to use this design challenge to get started. And this is a really great moment to call out the video right here. You'll notice this is a little bit longer of a video inside the guided activity because it's actually taking students or participants or the learner through a quick lesson on what to consider, how to set up the design. So I love that question. And we have community answers. Sometimes when you're looking at a drawing a blank on creativity, maybe you leverage generative AI, and that's a component
yeah.
built
Right.
inside of Adobe Express. I love going into media and I love looking through the photos in the stock library. And I might put, the ocean is a place for me. Joshua Tree National Park is a place for me. Nature is something that I'm drawn to. So as I search for like nature backgrounds, what sticks out to me? This is a great one because look at all of the things represented in it. I love this from the water droplets to the movement, but also as a former educator, I think about, oh gosh, this is how I'm teaching life cycles to my students. And I'm building in academic vocabulary that could be used in this design. So I love the questions that are coming in, but don't forget you have the directions also, if you're starting from scratch, to still guide you through the process. So, Wesy, I'm so glad you called out that comment in the chat.
Yeah, it's a great one, and it's one that comes up quite often, right? And so, like, what are some sources of inspiration? What is your own motivation? And
Yeah.
where can you tap into the existing resources?
Well, listen, let me jump into my three really, really fast because we want to share and shout out community examples and talk quickly through those. And then, Wizzy, let's like create in real life to in real time and kind of talk about more curricular possibilities with these. Recently spilled my coffee. It went everywhere. And I was like, ah, okay, you have to react, right? Because then you got to clean up the spill. But
Mhm.
I loved reframing it from being like oh my gosh, I spilled my coffee into okay, calm down, relax, just take a moment. And instead of take a moment, I chose seize the moment. I
I
thought
love
was
it.
like a fun way to reframe. And I kind of played around with like where on the screen I wanted it. If the cup is tipping one way, obviously it's not going to be upside down, but like even placement on the screen. And I really wanted to capture like the droplets of the coffee with the like moment that was happening, right? So that was one example I made. Again, I love a bold font. I love a very clear, visually accessible font. So this one I think is still the original one in the guided activity. And I found in like all of my designs, I just kept the same font. But we talked a little bit about typography and how that matters. This next one, Wesley, I made this for my dad.
Oh,
It out and give it to him as a little Valentine card.
oh, so sweet.
I said, toot your horn. My dad has played the French horn for 35 years and he restarted in his senior years. He's now almost 83 years old. He plays in a symphonic band and an orchestra, and he loves music, classical music. I love classical music too because of my dad. But I was like, Dad, toot your horn, and just like celebrating that. And I thought it was a really funny phrase with this beautiful classical instrument. And then I kept a similar color pattern or a color palette because I love the gradients on the backgrounds. Like I love a gradient.
Right.
I also tend to go for a very bold, bright, ultraviolet purples. But for me, choosing the lighter background and the gradient made the horn stand out to me in a way, and it made me feel closer to that element in the picture. So that was kind of like the thoughts that I had.
Yeah,
And
as you were going through those colors, I noticed that this lighter gradient, it's almost like the chrome. It's aligning with the chrome in the horn
yeah,
more because chrome naturally has like the different tones. So that's why it works so well. Oh, but that one also stands out,
I
that blue.
know, and that's a good one because it's a
Yeah.
very crisp line looking at the
Yeah.
intricate tubing of the instrument. But as you play around with this, like visually play, have a play, change the elements, change the
Right.
size, move things around. And that is one way that folks can begin to see too. Like, if you eliminate those aspects of the part of the instrument, like you move the intricacy of the design. So I love using the forward, redo, undo button too. But Wesy, this next example is a good. I was playing with how to take up space, the like isolation and space, and then of course removing like the background of the picture. But I found that I actually liked a different visual that created more isolation and space with this one. Feel the vibe and just focusing on like the connection to music that people are making. So those are some thoughts that I had. I've got the chat open on my device next to me. Y'all who are watching in the chat, share some of your thoughts or like your design inspiration. I love the questions. Thanks, David Henrik, for adding. The friend, I know it's BioClot62 asking the question. Elizabeth Brooke, thanks for asking these questions in the chat. But Wesy, you want to shout out some of our other community members who have
Oh,
given.
I certainly do. And I do want to just do a couple of call outs of some details,
Oh,
Anne, that
okay,
you had
okay,
in your designs.
yeah,
The you have really great placement of the text and the toot your horn. It's almost like the word is coming out of the horn.
yep,
So, or the words are coming out of the horn. But I also love your inspiration for all of your designs. And it's just a reminder that the messages are all around us,
oh
right?
yeah.
Spilled your coffee, there's a message. Your dad's coming up with his birthday and he's doing something really inspirational to fulfill himself. There's a message, and it's also Valentine. And then you've got, just playing an instrument and what that conveys as far as feeling. So there's messages all around us all the time. So tap into where you might not naturally feel like there's something that you can connect with for a nice, quick, impactful, punchy line that you can use. We do have some awesome community examples because our community is awesome.
And just
And
calling out
yes.
as we go to that, thanks ADOG478 with a comment. Wesy, these are all so good. So I just wanted to share that comment with you and say thank.
Oh, thank you.
And then David, feel the vibe image. This is a really cool suggestion.
Ooh.
Using a distressed font. Like that would be a really cool way to. And in fact, I want to play with something for a moment. I want to eliminate that like background, right? So if there's no no background around it. Whoa, I zoomed in and kind of made my screen a little wonky. Sorry, y'all. Didn't mean to make you seasick there. Like how that could look when you start playing and this like a distressed like effect. And remember, this size currently is set for an 11 by 17 poster. So playing with like knowing like an output, if I were to print this, I love just seeing that as a possibility too. So that's a really cool call out. Thank you for saying like that if you keep the background around it or if you don't. So I love it. I love it. Thanks, David. Okay, Wezzy. Da 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 da. Community inspiration.
Yes, yes, go into our community. And isn't speaking of community, community rallies around a cause, around a mission, in support of sharing ideas and brainstorming. And our classrooms are also community spaces, right? So how great is this as an activity that just brings about this type of connection? If you're looking for ways to get your students talking more around feedback and up leveling each other, this is a great activity. Just David, what you shared in the chat, I think a distress fund would work great. Those are such rich conversations that our students can have around each other's designs that are low lift, they're lower risk, right? So just getting them, teaching them the language of feedback and connection through what they're emoting in an image, how powerful is that? So taking a look at our first community design, follow the music in your heart. Oh my goodness. So, and what I love about this challenge is just how we've received input from our community and how students are using this. And I know that we've had from fourth grade through high schoolers and take a just this is this is amazing, incredible what the students are doing and how they are interpreting this month's challenge and tweaking them. And so our first class is looking at scale, right? And how scale is affecting the design. And so this is just a great example of that, especially with the language around the heart.
And this one too, that big red heart. Shout out to our ace innovator, Monica Roach, who is an instructional tech coach in Virginia Beach, Virginia. This design gets me right in the feels, but I love the big, bold focal point of that heart. And to be honest, the contrast of the red and the blue, it's so gorgeous. It's
It's
so
so
gorgeous.
good. A
Yeah.
shout out to, yes, Virginia Beach, students in Virginia Beach. You all are amazing and continue to share on socials. We love seeing what you're doing. Thank you so much, Monica,
Yep.
for
All
sharing this.
right. You ready for the next one?
Absolutely.
All right, here we go. These are inspired by fourth graders in Beaufort County School District, South Carolina. Shout out to our innovator, Eve Heaton, who's an instructional technology coach. Wezzy, you know what they did with this one? Tell me about it, because you see the three different versions, right?
Yep, you can see these versions. So they teamed up with the computer lab teacher and fourth graders, and they resized the template and offered two different orientations as well. And so the first class had trouble seeing how scale affects design, so they adjusted from there. And then students chose an image showing meaningful movement. So that's what you're seeing in these designs. They were also asked to compare those three versions to help them see the scaling changes, emphasizing or on emphasis and movement rather. And then they said that they got better results as they did that. And that's just the power of iteration. And students were able to pick out their favorite to print for a hallway display. So really recognizing the students' work, but also just showing them the evolution of design through intentional decision making. They also had a writing component. And so they used Magic School Chatbot to craft the words for their posters. And the chatbot instructions was like create 3 to 5 word life statements that include an action shown in the image. So they had a prompt and a prompt guide for them. And they were able to point out that this was like similar to the writing process and also incorporating the design. And so, Ace Innovator Eve Heaton, thank you so much for sharing this, but also sharing that process that your students went through to get to their results and how they were learning through design.
I love it. It's so cool. I had to land on this one too because this was included in the samples that Eve shared, and this one made me laugh so hard. So, friends out there listening in, if you're thinking of like a curricular, connection to it, of course, you are the subject matter experts. I talked about maybe talking about the life sciences and teaching like the life cycle through a close-up of a plant. This one could be included in like a nutrition class, right? Like maybe you're talking about what you need and how you can set up like a healthy diet, or this one is simply just a fun play on words, and we all know carbs are life. So, nice.
So
And Resi, as somebody who can't, I have a wheat allergy, so I'm looking at this thinking, that'd be so delicious. And I love the monochromatic kind of
uh-huh.
like vibe that comes in. The
Extra
noodles
carbs.
stand out because of how big they are and scaled out in size, but like carbs as the biggest font and like bold font, the play of like how fun, the movement as the noodles are hanging down from the chopsticks, but as the words are like also dripping from the other side of the like the chopstick effect. It's like I love this one, but the like monochromatic vibe still makes the imagery pop out to me, and I think it's so dynamic.
Yeah, which is really skilled to
Yeah,
do,
yeah,
make that happen,
yeah.
right? So lots of skill choices here from this student. And it also makes you want the noodles. Like this is product marketing-esque
Okay.
right here.
Oh my God,
Get you some gluten-free ones.
right? So I'm gonna like show this on my screen as it like cycles through Brad Nance, innovator
Hi,
Brad
Brett.
Nance, who is a visual art and computer art photography teacher in Virginia Beach. Y'all, this is so awesome. Shout out at Mr. Nance. He is sharing the most dynamic student examples. I'm going to share it one more time from the anatomical blackline outlines. So play your heart, feel the breeze, hit the shot, take the picture, follow your dreams. Slime for all is one. Go with the flow, catch a fish, right? Like I love these ones. Like these
Wonderful.
are so cool. What students, this one has two big words, do not give up, or donut give up.
Oh,
Thinking,
someone got really punny. And Brad Nance is in Prince William in Virginia, and we just so appreciate you, Brad, and your students for showcasing possibilities after
yeah.
possibilities with
So
this. So good.
Mr. Nance, thank you. And so we just want to say community inspiration. Y'all out there on the socials, as you're making your designs, share them. Tag us. We use Adobe EDU Creative. Tag Adobe. Like we want to celebrate that creativity with you. But Wesy, we still have a little bit of time. You want to do a design in real life?
Ooh, let's.
All right. So, y'all, we've talked about movement. We've talked about the emphasis on the words, and we know like the visual paths, the intentionality behind design. But, Wesy, as we get ready to kind of design an example in real life, let's talk about directional lines, shapes, motion, visual pathways, like placement, layering, and depth. All of that matters
All of it.
in kind of capacity. Even repetition of things, like the repetition of maybe a word. Um,
Yeah,
so
and not to mention that movement is what guides the viewer's
yeah,
eye,
yeah.
right? So, yes, a good
So
movement creates visual paths. So let's talk about those paths.
okay, cool. So I'm like moving around in my screen, getting or like getting so excited and wiggling in my seat because we have the opportunity to just kind of create in real time, but talk about our process as we go through. Let's pull my screen up again. And again, I'm just launching from Wesy. I'm going to go back to that home page. I'm going to go right back to the beginning of Adobe Express and remind folks how to launch. You can start with that big plus sign and create a brand new project. You could even come in and create a poster. I'm leveraging these guided activities. You can find a ton of them that have those step-by-step directions. But this is that first tile icon you click on. And when you open it in Editor, it will give you the template you can work from. You can begin to click on those elements, change things up, but also remember those directions that exist for you on the side. So, Wesi, we were kind of talking about nature or inspiration. I know my teacher, like, brain immediately goes to like literary responses because I had my students talk about like their authentic reading lives and make text connections and story elements. So, like, in high school, a literary response, or I don't know, I'm thinking of my chemistry class and like the kind of elements that we're experiencing. Do you have in mind something you want to create if we were to change our image, or do we want to keep it with nature or do something for school?
Oh, we can do something for school. So something that comes to mind, as much as I'm always drawn to nature. But something that comes to mind that kind of connects the two a little bit is making work easier.
Oh, I love that.
So going
You're
to a
saying you,
simple machine,
okay.
right? I
Okay.
know that's a big science unit for a lot of our elementary students, early
Okay.
elementary students. And then physics, getting into physics. And so that can be a design that allows us to think about some of these um, uh, aspects of our design theory. Now, I'm going to list you all because Anne, you had mentioned a couple of design principles, and I'm going to list them for you all. And I want you to think about the one that attracts you, that catches your ear, because I have a theory that folks who are specialized in different fields are going to be drawn to different aspects of the design. So, for example, if you're a more mathematical person, you might be drawn to the first one that I list off. So I'm
Okay.
just going to list off a couple of them.
Okay.
And as we talk about the simple machine, I'll call out the just a principle that we can also zoom in on. But here we
Perfect.
go.
As I started to push buttons already just on the screen, the machine pictures that I was like, no, it's already too complex, but I want to focus on those three words that are going to guide us, make
Yeah,
work easier. So, okay, guide
make
me
work
through
easier.
your flow and I'll be the one pushing buttons.
Absolutely. Okay, so a simple machine that makes work easier is a wheel.
Ooh.
So maybe we can put a bicycle on there. And
Ooh.
then we'll go from there. So folks who are listening, here are some of the design principles. Which principle calls you? We've got directional lines and shapes, motion, visual pathway, hierarchy, placement, layering and depth, rhythm and repetition. So when I hear rhythm and repetition, I'm like, ooh, that speaks to me. I think musically sometimes when I'm designing something.
Yeah.
And I was with a dear friend of mine who's a math person, and she loves it when she's hearing lines and shapes. And so maybe that's a starting point for you all when you're thinking about your design. Just think about the design principles that are drawn to you. Maybe it's motion for you. Maybe it's layering for you. So we're gonna go with the simple machine, a wheel. There, oh, I like this with the
I
scale.
like this one too. I landed on it because it gives us some interesting space to play with.
Yeah. Oh, look at that. And you know why else this stands out to me, Anne, is because you've got the pedals and the words make work easier. Like the pedals go with that, right? Because you use a pedal to gain momentum and it makes it easier, to get that motion. So I kind of, this is a top tier choice here, Anne, for the imagery. Brava.
Thank you.
All right, what are your suggestions? You can give them to us in the chat for what else to add or even color choices in this picture, any placement. layers, any ideas that come to mind. Um, Something else that we can do here, Anne, is the work having more contrast with the word work in there. Just because it can be a little hidden in those spokes and those gears right there.
So I would play around with this probably for a while.
Yeah, look at that.
I
Ooh.
kind of think like this it's almost hidden. So I don't want to lose it in there, but it could play off of
I'm picking up what you're putting down, Anne. And
yeah.
David in the chat says an idea is also try pulling back the opacity.
Ooh, check that. So, folks, this is a really cool thing too. I love these community suggestions and the group think of it. So, check that out. I'm literally going to click on my image. So, again, just how you would do this in product when you click on the image, the options to edit and play with that opacity. And literally, it's a toggle. So, that could be something too. And I think that does it. Like, that does it in a really cool way to bring out the word like the word pops now. And Wezzy, the sizing too. Like I've kind of moved around the spokes come a little bit off of or the bike frame comes off of the page, but I think the opacity changed the entire feel. David, shout out. Brilliant
Love
idea.
that. And then we've got another suggestion for BioCloud, maybe a faded background from left to right to show emotion from front
Woo-hoo.
back.
Okay,
And so
so
gradient might work here. Also, there is an advanced skill that you can use here and that your students can use here. And I don't know if you want to try it, but I'll talk through it. Here's an advanced technique. You can duplicate the image
check this out.
and
Okay.
change the opacity of the one in the back.
Okay, so let me come into my layers because I think
Uh-huh.
this
Good
is the
go. Okay.
one
All right,
right
we're doing it.
back.
So going into the layers, you duplicated, you do clicked on the image, duplicated the image. The one on the back, we can fade, change the opacity a little bit, keep the opacity as is for the one on top, but then crop it halfway so that it looks like half of the bike is faded and the other half, do you see what I'm saying?
So I'm gonna pull it from this side, and I think
Yep.
I need to play with the opacity of the one on the top layer because I pulled it down, but if I made it more bold and bright, and then what I need to do, nope, I have those, I need to pull this back. Hang on, I'm not pulling the right one. Okay, this. I know what you're going for, but I'm just not grabbing the right one.
That's all right. That's all right. And you can even switch the opacity if it's only pulling from right to
Yeah.
left.
And that's what it is. I need to fade. I need to drop the back one,
Yep.
the one that now this one I'm gonna pull and make that oh my gosh. Okay, cool.
There it is.
Yeah. Took me a moment in my brain to
Hey,
like
but you know what? It actually took you less than a minute.
also, I would kind of like, you see the line, you see the gradient right there. So maybe I would, if I were digging into it, I would kind of like play with the opacity a little bit more. But that does evoke a sense of like motion or kind of like forward movement off of the page. Um, I love that too. And think the opacity change is brilliant.
Yeah, how cool is that? So you can, as we said, that this is a beginner-friendly tool, but you can use very advanced skills and have very advanced conversations
Yeah.
around design choices with this.
Oh
And
my
yeah, it's really helpful to have this experience to be able to see all of the ideas. So thank you to our community for all the ideas, and thank you for the crowdsourcing and joining in. Well
God.
done.
I love it. So, Wezzy, I know we're coming close on time, but friends, we hope you've loved the conversation. We hope you loved the idea of playing with designs and how emphasis and movement are so significant to how you build, how you create, and how you pull your designs together. So maybe you're rocking some kind of Fibonacci spiral to see the pattern, or maybe you're using a magnifying glass with look closely now. Or maybe you're animating a dreamscape or creating a public service announcement or talking weather systems. There's so many possibilities for what you can do with these design challenges. So, Wesy, why don't you tell us a few things about how we can wrap up? Because I know we're at time.
Well, we know we that this is there's a lot here. We hope it sparks new design ideas for you. We can't wait to see what you and your students create. And if you share it, please tag us using the hashtag Adobe EDU Creative on your favorite social platforms. We'd love to connect with you. So please visit edu.adobe.com for more insights, ideas, and resources from our community for the community.
Love
So yeah, and anything else that you if you have questions, come to the community, join us in conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. So, friends, we'd love for you to become an ACE leader. There's definitely insight on that edu.adobe.com for how to get connected. Thanks for tuning in to this Adobe Live. Y'all hit subscribe, continue learning here with the Adobe Live community. There are so many brilliant things being shared. So, Wesy, final thoughts? Everybody, thanks for tuning in.
Thanks so much, everybody, and we hope to see you again at our next Adobe Live.
Bye, everyone.